What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. Thank you once again for tuning in to this week's episode. We're in the new studio, just moved into the house on Friday. As you could tell by the Instagram story that I put up the other day, apologies for the delay in getting this out to you guys on our regular Wednesday morning. As mentioned there, obviously moving to the new house has been quite hectic, and also aligned with starting a new job as well, which has required me to be at the office every single day. Haven't had the chance to really have the time to sit down and record an episode for you guys, and we're finally here. It feels as though we need to add some life onto these walls, and I'm sure we'll be able to do that in the near distant future. But for now, this is going to be the new studio. As mentioned, I do plan to have like a couch right next to this desk, and this desk may potentially move to accommodate for the couch that I'm going to have here, where hopefully when guests come, instead of having them remotely, if they're living here, they're able to come in, we're able to sit down on the couches, get a few microphones going on, and get to work. And I'm loving my new table at the moment. It's not as sturdy, so you can't really hear as many issues with the microphone as we used to before, with the sort of disrupt spamming of the mic when hitting the table. It was quite flimsy. Bought myself obviously a new table. I've got my lovely 2 screens in front of me for working from home, but also for the podcast as well, which is fantastic. And yeah, a nice clear wall to hopefully build on, maybe get some frames in, or maybe get some sort of, shelves to put some fancy stuff. But again, we'll be able to figure that out as we go along, as mentioned. But yeah, it's been great sort of setting this up, finally having my own space. And I think this is where the podcast can potentially take off, with a new space and a new sort of refreshment as well, and potentially new things as well. But what won't change is the latest sporting news, and that's what we're going to be covering today on this episode. And we cannot start with the latest sporting news without the biggest news coming out of the NBA right now, and that is Nico Harrison being fired by the Dallas Mavericks. And to say that this wasn't coming is quite silly, because I think people were waiting for this moment to happen, and it came quite early. And I think it's got to do with obviously the recent performances, definitely the trade that in all press conferences no one involved has mentioned. And yeah, definitely their record too, and the fact that AD's been injured and Kyrie's not coming back. So yeah, the Dallas Mavericks, Nico Harrison, I'm torn between it, because I think that I can see what he was trying to do, and it sounds strange to say, and hindsight's a lovely thing in that. But at the end of the day, man, like, you can't be trading Luka like that so abruptly and giving the Lakers that sort of haul, because although Max Christie is a good player, there has been injury concerns with Anthony Davis. So for anyone to sit there and say that he's not someone that could potentially get injured is quite ignorant. So we've proven that. He's obviously had time off now, and he's had time off last season. And then with Kyrie getting injured, along with even that Caleb Martin trade, I'm getting confused with the Twins. The Caleb Martin trade for Quentin Grimes didn't help the cause either. They literally built this team to win championships on the premise and basis that players were going to get fit. And with the players they had, they were not going to get fit. So removing a generational star in Luka Doncic has to be a good sort of outcome and return in there. And so far, they're sitting in like the bottom 3 of the West. So to me, that just doesn't seem feasible, doesn't make sense. And yes, they did get Cooper Flagg out of it, but at the end of the day, Cooper Flagg is going to take a lot of time to grow. And without a proper point guard, how is he really going to develop? They were playing him at point guard a lot of the times, and it was quite a mess. And I think that when you see fans not coming to the games, it was the first time in, I think, 20 years or over 20 years that a Dallas Mavericks organization didn't sell out a home game. And that started to happen. You had Fire Nico chants flying left, right, and center. And yeah, it was just doomed to be an end for Nico Harrison. And all the Dallas Maverick fans that I've spoke to, are quite annoyed with it because, yes, you fired Nico Harrison, but now what happens? It's like you've done the trade, you've done the damage. Like, who's going to come in and like rectify this? You've obviously proven now that the trade did not work by firing Nico Harrison. You are proving that Luka Doncic trading and going to the Lakers and how he's dominating is a massive mistake. And that's not a good look on the Mavericks organization. It's not a good look on the franchise and feeling as though things can turn around. Like, this team literally made the finals last year. So to change their whole sort of team and personnel and then to not back the GM and not sort of double down on this, whether it was right and wrong, just more for the organization and giving the fans that sort of security that their franchise is going to be okay, was the wrong play here. So maybe they get a new GM and things change around there, but I don't think it was fully on Nico Harrison. At the end of the day, the owner needs to sign off on this. So whether his basketball knowledge is not up to standard, that needs to be fixed. And I'm hearing rumblings that Jason Kidd had to sign up on this decision as well. So it sort of does fall on him too. So yes, Nico Harrison probably takes the blame for it. His justifications for the trade, saying that defense wins championships. When you have someone generational in Luka, it just looks stupid. And yeah, the way that the franchise was going, it was made to happen. But I still don't think it will fix the problems. I think Dallas are going to be in massive trouble. Their best bet is that Cooper Flagg becomes the player that he was hyped out to be, and that is someone that will be generational. But can he be as generational as Luka is right now? At the moment, the signs are saying no, because I think when Luka started in his rookie season, he was going out the gates firing and he was killing it. So yeah, I've got no words for it. I think it's not fully to blame on Nico Harrison. I don't think he should be taking full accountability for what happened there. But at the same time, in the end, you are the general manager and your job is to improve the roster. And the crazy part is he did make some pretty good trades to get him into the finals, picking up PJ Washington, picking up Kyrie Irving in free agency, and also picking up Daniel Gafford in trade, which did help them get to where they needed to be. But then now they've pretty much teared it down. So yeah, I'm feeling for Dallas. I'm feeling for the fans. And I think it's going to be a long time until we kind of get a clear clarity on where they're going to go and what direction. And I think it's leaning more towards a rebuild. Maybe Kyrie and Anthony Davis come back this season, finish it off, maybe get sidelined, and then they regroup for next season. Who knows? Yeah, we'll pretty much move on from that and continue on the NBA train. We have probably the biggest sort of, I wouldn't say surprise story, because they had a really good run last year against the New York Knicks. But it's the Detroit Pistons, who are currently 9-2 at the moment, and they are dominating the Eastern Conference. And they just had a recent win against the Washington Wizards, who I'm definitely going to be talking about after this, where Cade Cunningham took the most field goal attempts in yonks. And they had him and Duran running the show with a bunch of G League players, and they found a way to win the game against the Wizards. But off that, because I'll leave that for Wizards segment, Cade Cunningham, as I mentioned in the NBA overs and unders for the Eastern Conference, is a dark horse MVP candidate, in my opinion. And the way he's playing right now, he looks like a real MVP candidate. And I'm kind of proud to sort of pick on that. And you just look at his numbers. He's just been incredible. He's averaging 27.5 points, 5 rebounds, and 9.9 assists, shooting at 47% from efficient field goal percentage. And his threes haven't been too good. He's obviously been taking a lot of shots this season, but the fact that he's upped his points, his rebounds, his assists from last season drastically, and he's still not hitting his normal efficiency numbers is quite scary. Last year, he was averaging 84% from the line, 49% as an effective field goal, and 33% from three. He's 5% off that. And imagine if he hits to that 30 to 31% that he can easily get from three. I think he's going to be close to averaging 30 points this season. And if he continues to keep Detroit where they are, and that is top of the Eastern Conference, sitting at 9-2 at the moment, they are poised to make a deep run in the East and potentially push to the finals. Like I said, And New York Knicks is there. The East is quite weak at the moment. Orlando hasn't been performing too well. We expected them to go up. Atlanta's got injuries galore. The Miami Heat are looking strong early on. Philly are looking pretty decent early on. But can these teams hold? I don't know. The Detroit Pistons showed that they can really be a competitive team, and they do have the guy in Cade Cunningham. And another player that is the guy right now helping him out is Jalen Duren. And if he continues going like this guy is going to be a all-star, and they're going to have 2 all-stars from Detroit, which is going to be simply incredible. And I just love what Detroit are doing. I love the acquisitions of Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert. We did say that Tim Hardaway and Malik Beasley would be big losses, but these two have come in seamlessly and pretty much done what those role players have done. And it hasn't looked like a loss at all. And it's just amazing. They have young players that are finding ways to win as well. JB Bickerstaff is doing an amazing job there, and you got to give credit to the Pistons. We might be calling JB to get Coach of the Year as well this season too. The way he's been organizing and running this team, and I really think that they can make a deep run in the playoffs, especially with the experience from last season, and especially with Cade at the helm, who honestly is looking like an MVP player. He's got to be in the conversation, and he's also locked in right now if he keeps the season like this for a first team All NBA pick as well. So I love it. It's great to see stars in the East come across and young stars and young point guards. Cade Cunningham is certainly one of them, and yeah, really keen for him to continue to grow and do what he's doing. But in contrast, the fucking Wizards. The Wizards are 1-10. How they lost in that Detroit Pistons game is beyond me. Now, CJ McCollum had a really good game, 42 points. But when it came to OT, he cooked it. He absolutely cooked it in the overtime. And he started to be picking up in his performances, but I haven't been really happy with him and Middleton and what they've been doing for the team. It feels as though that if we are 1-10, why are we just not playing the young kids? And speaking of the young kids, Bob Carrington, man, hasn't been good at all. And it looks like this team is in desperate need of a generational star, a point guard that can lead the helm. Keyshawn George has taken a step back, which probably would have expected, but was hoping that he could be the star that we were hoping for. But the real star right now is Alex Sarr. He's knocking the 3-ball down. He's getting points. He's unbelievable in the paint. He's the fastest to blocks. And the only people on top of him was Chet Holmgren and Victor Wembanyama, and they were the 2 generational guys coming out of the draft. So Alex Sarr is a silver lining at the moment. And I think if you're going to pair him up with a generational point guard that can score and play make, I think we're looking at a decent team for next year. But I'm not going to get my hopes up from the draft. I obviously look at Darren Peterson. I think he's the perfect fit for us. But at the end of the day, I've seen too many times where the Wizards have been robbed from getting a draft pick as well. So we'll have to keep tabs on that. But the Wizards are not performing really well. Bottom of the East, and just a shit show there. Like, just don't have any clear winning identity. I know we're such a young team, but there's just no identity to win. They don't know how to win. They find ways to lose. They can't win games, and it's just really frustrating at the moment because, again, we know that tanking doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a top 5 pick. So why aren't we keep competing? I also had them for over 19.5 wins to hit the 20 win mark, and it's looking really, really unlikely right now. We haven't won in 9 games. So of the 1-10 streak, we lost the first game of the season. And then we won our second game against Dallas, and since then we haven't won a single game. And you thought that beating Dallas at their ground would have given, or at their court would have given us the chance to do that, but it didn't happen. And now we're yet to lose a game. But another shit show besides the Nets, who I think are genuinely worse than us, if I'm honest, are the Indiana Pacers, who, man, oh man, like, you lose Tyrese Halliburton, you're 1 game off making the NBA Finals and winning the NBA Finals and winning a championship, and you're 1-10. And now Tyrese Halliburton, yes, he's injured. We all know that. But then losing injuries to Nemhar and Aaron Naismith for a few games, it just kills you. And I really feel sorry for Pascal Siakam. I feel sorry for this whole organization and the fans. And you were 1 game away from winning a championship. Now you're probably, 71 games away from the number 1 pick. And that might be a good thing for you guys to bolster your squad and bring in someone to help out. for the future and potentially go back to championships. But it just feels like it's going to be a long time gone for them. That series and that injury to Tyrese Halliburton really derailed the Indiana Pacers. And I think that that's going to be a big effect on them, because at the moment it's really hard to sort of see how this team could ever go back to potentially another NBA Finals with Tyrese Halliburton injured, with the Achilles. And even when he does come back, is what I'm more talking about, is when he does come back, how is he going to get them back there? There's a lot of questions, and there's a lack of answers, to be quite frank. And I think the Pacers are in massive trouble. But if we look at the Western Conference, we have the Thunder 7-1, we have the Spurs 8-2. Wemby, just unbelievable. No Dylan Harper for a bit, but Fox has come back and has fit in seamlessly. The Spurs are going to be a threat, and Victor Wembanyama is also someone that could be an MVP candidate alongside Cade Cunningham, away from sort of the usual suspects of Giannis, who the Bucks are killing it at the moment, 7-4, which is just giving Giannis a great MVP case as well. Doncic as well from the Lakers, and Luka, and obviously Shea as well, as I mentioned. So it's good to see new sort of MVP candidates come into the fold, especially the young players, and it just shows that the league is going to be in great hands with these superstars, and that really, really does excite me. So, yeah, again, the Spurs are killing it, but the biggest surprise for me is the Phoenix Suns. They're currently 6-5 at the moment, and I put them on the over, and I'm quite happy to see where they're going at the moment. And it might not last. It probably won't last. But at the end of the day, it feels like the team is starting to become likable again, and their culture has been sort of fixed up, especially considering the issues that were there with Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant. Those seem to be gone, and they haven't looked worse since. So that's been great. Grayson Allen went on a heater, 10 threes the other day. And yeah, he's balling out. And they got culture in Dylan Brooks, who I think he's just a great locker room guy. I did a whole podcast on sort of villains and what they mean to the sport. And Dylan Brooks is like literally the perfect example of that. And a lot of people are starting to be Dylan Brooks fans, and I'm certainly one of them. I really love Dylan Brooks and what he's all about. But another nice surprise is the Utah Jazz. They're 4-7, but you really expected them to be 1-10, knowing that they were sort of one of the worst teams in the league. But I feel like they've got some nice pieces. Walker Kessler's out for the season, but there's some players filling in and doing a good job. And Ace Bailey has now entered the starting lineup, so we might see an ascendance from him. Isaiah Collier's come back. He's playing some decent minutes. And my boy, Keontae George, who I've been very high on since his Summer League run with the Utah Jazz, I think he is going to be an elite scorer. The fact that he's getting to the line frequently, his efficiencies are here and there, but I think when I see someone that can get foul calls and get to the line, we look at Shea and everyone clowns on him, but I think getting to the line is a skill. And if you have that ability to draw fouls, get to the free throw line and pick up some easy buckets, then I think you're in a big opportunity, and you're in for a big scoring load, and also putting up those points per game. And he's really helping their star in Lauri Markkanen, who is making a real trade case. And Danny Ainge will be licking his lips knowing that his value is going to be shooting up at the moment. And don't be surprised if he gets moved All-Star break or post-All-Star break and before the All-Star break for the trade deadline. And we all know, we spoke about them, that Detroit Pistons could be the perfect destination for them. So look out for that. But I guess in other storylines, the Clippers are struggling, and we've spoke about the Mavericks. They're 3-8. They're a shit show. So are the Pelicans. No Zion at the moment. But Ja Morant, and as we mentioned, no trade updates on him. It looks as though that the Grizzlies organization are going to be sticking with their coach and backing him, and that's something that I really like. He's introduced a offensive system that is really good. It's just that we need players like Ja Morant, and even Jaren Jackson, who's probably not copying it as much as he should, to buy in and lock in. And if they don't, then I reckon they need to be shipped out for sure, because they're not performing well with their stars. They might as well cash in, get some trade assets, rebuild this team, and get this coach showing the young bucks how to play some really good offensive basketball, which I like to see in that. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up all the NBA stuff for this week. There's a lot of news coming out with the Nico Harrison stuff, which we mentioned at the start. The Detroit Pistons is a nice surprise story with Cade becoming an MVP candidate and potentially pushing that narrative across. And then you've also got the struggling Wizards and some other struggling teams there. Just wanted to take a moment to thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Huddle Within podcast. If you do enjoy episodes like this, or this episode specifically, be sure to leave a comment and a 5-star review wherever you do get your podcasts. It'd be also great if you could like and subscribe wherever you do get your podcasts, so we can continue to show this out to people that see sports exactly the way that you do. But without further ado, let's get straight back into it.
But we'll get on to the NFL at the moment, and we have a lot of movement when it comes to sort of standings and whatnot. The Seattle Seahawks are on fire. As I look at my little scorecard just to sort of have a gauge of everything, they're 7-2 at the moment alongside the Rams. Currently leading the division are the Seahawks. The Niners are 6-4. So very competitive down there in the NFC West, and it looks like the Seahawks are probably the best team coming out. They've picked up Rashid Shaheed, but they do have right now the best wide receiver so far this season, and that is Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's having an unbelievable season, and Sam Darnold as well. He's killing it too. So he's showing that he can do it in the regular season. But the real question is, can he translate this football into the playoffs? And that's something that we'll be definitely looking out for. The Colts are continuing to go on a run, 8-2, picking up Sauce Gardner in the trade as well, which was quite amazing as well to pick him up. 2 first-round picks is quite crazy for me. I think it's a bit of an overpay, but at the end of the day, the Colts are competing, and the Jets are trying to tank and be shit and accumulate draft picks, which I reckon will stuff up anyway. So yeah, the Jets are a shit show, as we all know. Like, I talk about my Saints, but they got to win. They won a game today, so can't be complaining about the New Orleans Saints. They beat the Carolina Panthers. What was it? As I get the score up, 7-17, and we had a bit of a decent performance from Chris Olave, which is quite positive to see. Obviously, now that Rashid Shaheed's gone, we got more from Olave there, who ran for 104 yards with 1 touchdown, which is quite solid. Juwan Johnson carrying the receiving load as well from tight end. And that leaves room for potentially Foster Monroe and Devon Bailey to just sort of pick up on the offensive side, with Alvin Kamara, who has been a bit of a disappointment this season. But again, it's really hard to sort of blame him for that, as the Saints overall haven't been good, and they won't be good for this season. But if we look at what's going on next week, in the next games coming up, we have a few interesting games to sort of wrap around and whatnot, as I bring up the bloody fixture, which never seems to work for me. I would say the Bills and the Buccaneers, the Eagles and the Lions are probably the key storylines there. You have the New England Patriots, who are off to an unbelievable start too. And I think they've got to get the Colts on TV, man, because they're not getting any TV games. They have a bye this week, so they're going to be refreshed and rejuvenated. But I love to see Colts be on ESPN and play on the TV games, or even on Amazon as well. There. The Broncos also take on the Chiefs, so a quite competitive game there in the AFC. And the AFC is up for grabs across those teams as well. You're talking about your Broncos, your New England Patriots, your Indianapolis Colts. You still got the Buffalo Bills. You still got the Kansas City Chiefs that are also in that conversation too. So yeah, we're a week 11 coming up, and we're very close to playoff football, which is really exciting. And now with the new sort of studio and setup, I'm keen to have Super Bowl here and watch that as well. But I'm loving Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. Been the standout offensive player of the year for me. It's got to be him or Jackson Smith-Njigba. And an early candidate for the MVP is still begs a question. But there's a lot of potential candidates there. I still think Josh Allen is in the running, just given that he's so good. And I think Jonathan Taylor is definitely one as well for the Indianapolis Colts. And what a storyline for Daniel Jones. Like, he's having a killer too. We'll wrap up with the Premier League, just to finish up on this quickly. Just with the fixtures coming up, we obviously had Liverpool losing to Manchester City 3-0, getting completely dominated in the first half. Had a better second half, but by then City were just too good. But we are previewing the North London derby between Arsenal and Tottenham, and that's going to be a really exciting fixture. I do suspect Arsenal will win the match. They came off a 2-2 draw against Sunderland with a 90th minute winner there. Sunderland just continued to just exceed expectations and just be unbelievable, getting a draw against Arsenal, who have just been winning every week, is impressive. But can Arsenal bounce back beating Tottenham to just continue to put pressure and try win this league? Because it's very competitive, and you have City around the corner really wanting to push for the title as well. And I think they got a serious case to potentially win the league once again, especially considering that they are very close to Arsenal. I think they're like 4 points behind them. So there's a lot at stake there. My team, Manchester United, they're coming off a draw against Tottenham Hotspur. We managed to salvage a draw in the 94th minute, playing with 10 men because our fifth substitution was already done by the time that Sesko came onto the pitch. And yeah, obviously lapse of concentration. Some pretty jammy goals on Tottenham's end, especially the first one. Could have costed us vital points, and salvaging a point, all things considered, was the right thing. We've taken on Everton at home. That should be a victory for us, but with Manchester United, you can't guarantee any victories whatsoever. So we'll keep big tabs on that as well. And yeah, probably the other highlight game of the night would have to be, I would say, Brighton and Brentford. I think, well, Newcastle, Man City, sorry. Newcastle at home to Man City. Newcastle's got a woeful away record, but their home record is quite solid. But can Man City get a result there and a victory to really put pressure on Arsenal for the title? Because I think that if they do, Arsenal got to be really careful for this firing Manchester City squad with Haaland leading the line and players like Doku's having an incredible season, and I'm someone that really didn't think he was a really good player, but he's been killing it for them. And Cherky's shown class, and Foden's had flashes of brilliance too. So, yeah, Manchester City are big players. They're always going to be big players. And if Newcastle can cause an upset, I still think it is an upset, even though it's at Newcastle's home, then it'll be good news for Arsenal. And I think Arsenal will be feeling a lot better about themselves as well moving forward. And then basically, that pretty much wraps up, I think, Premier League. We can quickly talk about wrestling. John Cena is now the Intercontinental champion, with Dominic Mysterio basically calling him out on the latest episode of Monday Night Raw, which I've been following wrestling, obviously, as you know, and all the Raws that have been happening. This was by far the best Monday Night Raw they've had in such a long time. We had so many things that happened. John Cena winning the Intercontinental title. They did it so then John Cena could literally have all the titles won and be a Grand Slam champion. For me, it's a bit of a reach considering that I think this was hand given to him. It wasn't something that he necessarily really earned. I think it was just to sort of cement his legacy as the greatest wrestler of all time. And yeah, I got mixed feelings for it because I love John Cena to be a Grand Slam champion. I just didn't like the way it was sort of handed out, especially taking it from Dominic Mysterio, who has been killing it as a heel and even having a great heel run as champion. But who knows, he might be in the World Heavyweight Championship conversations taking on CM Punk as well. And they set up War Games there. Cody Rhodes fighting with the Vision. He came out and interfered. And he's on SmackDown, so I don't know why he's doing this shit on Raw. But I guess if you have the face of the company not doing anything, why wouldn't you put him in your War Games pay-per-view and be part of the main event of War Games there? So that probably makes a little bit of sense in that aspect. We have new women's tag team champions, Asuka and Kairi Sane getting the victory there. But we've set up War Games as Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, Rhea Ripley making her return with from having a broken nose, and also Io Sky. So it looks like they're just trying to get all the stars in there for a massive War Games match. And who knows, I wouldn't be surprised if Rhea Ripley and Io Sky compete for the for the women's tag team champions, especially considering that they are feuding with Asuka and Kairi Sane at the moment. So lots at stake there for War Games. And then we had Nikki Bella turning heel on Stephanie Vaquer, which is something that we expected. And I think it's going to make that storyline very compelling too. So yeah, a lot happened on this episode of Monday Night Raw. And yeah, we're looking forward to the mystery opponents next week for John Cena's 16-man last time is now tournament. The winner will verse John Cena. And LA Knight is scheduled to verse a mystery opponent. Again, I don't trust Triple H in giving us what the fans want, and that is Chris Jericho, and that is Edge. If they do that, I'll be amazed. If not, it will most likely be probably some TNA superstars such as Nick Nemeth and I don't know his name now, but it was Antonio Cesaro. He's changed his name to what it was. And nickname is, of course, being Dolph Ziggler in WWE. And you got Matt Cardona as well there. You've also got Joe Hendry. So, like, those are the more likely names that I think will be part of the tournament. But I think everyone's screaming out for Edge and Chris Jericho to be part of the tournament, but Edge to be John Cena's final opponent. So we'll continue to keep tabs on that and hopefully provide an update next week and we can get an outcome there. And then last but not least, just some F1 stuff. Oscar Piastri doesn't look like he's going to win the championship. It looks like it's going to go to Lando Norris, which for me is quite disappointing. I feel like he's shot of confidence at the moment. McLaren picked a clear direction and who they want to support as a driver. And as a biased Australian, that's really frustrating. So we'll continue to follow F1 and come back with more stuff there. But I'm just sort of at the moment following the championship storyline rather than just like the races itself and sort of the positions and who's far exceeding expectations and who had a really good drive and who finished on solid points at the moment. Want to focus on that and obviously other sports as well, because as much as I like to think that I know a lot about sports, there's sports like F1 that I probably could know more about. And even like the Premier League, to be honest, I think my mind's been more focused on basketball and most recently NFL too, which has been exciting. But again, with the house move, it's been difficult to sort of get my mind back into sport. So hopefully now that I've put this podcast episode out for you guys, I can refresh my mind, and when time frees up, I'll be able to sort of continue to record and just put that focus on what I'm passionate about, and that is talking about sports. And having this platform has been amazing and a great way to sort of do it. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. If you have listened for the first time, if you do enjoy this episode, please subscribe. Feel free to subscribe wherever you do get your podcasts. Leaving a 5-star review is also greatly appreciated. And yes, we're available on all platforms, and that also includes YouTube as well. So this will be up on YouTube too, if you would like to see a sort of clearer video, because I know Spotify's video is not as clear. Just know that there's not really much to see, given that there is a blank wall, just my ugly face. But again, thank you very much for tuning into another episode. This has been another sporting news update for you guys, and I'll catch you guys next week. Cheers.
So that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Huddle Within podcast. I appreciate you for tuning in and being part of this community where we go beyond the game and into what really matters. If this episode resonated with you, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who sees sports just the way that we do. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on my social medias, which will be linked below. Send in your thoughts and even be part of a future episode. Until next time, keep that passion alive, stay in the huddle, and remember, it's always deeper than the game. Cheers.